Welcome to Brooker Bonsai, and today we're going to be pruning up my English oak forest. This forest was repotted in spring this year, and oaks don't really like a lot of root work being done to them. I did actually remove quite a lot of roots from these trees, and I was a little bit nervous that they wouldn't survive, but they grew quite slowly this year, but all the trees seem to survive and there's lots of buds all over the trees. So I think next year we should see them really start to grow. Because of the bud density, we've got a really good opportunity now to come in and do some branch selection and really set it up for success for the new year, for when spring comes. So today I'm going to zoom you in. We'll take a 360 view look at this forest and begin pruning. Here's the front of the forest. You can see we've got some really nice big trees. The soil line last year was about up to here, but I've actually raised the trees up quite a lot to get that nice kind of nabari started. So I got a bit of extra height there, which was quite nice. So here's the front, coming around to the side, to the back of the tree, to the side of the forest, and back round to the front. So these English oaks actually have quite small leaf sizes once you build up that ramification, so they're quite well suited for a forest planting like this. At the moment I'm just in that growing phase, trying to grow them, build up that primary branch structure, so I have to make sure that the forest doesn't become too dense, as this will block out light to those inner buds. So this pruning process is really important. First, just looking at the soil, I can see there's lots of leaf debris and moss. So what I want to do is clear that first, and then I can come in and prune. So let's have a go at that now. Removing the moss is really important because over winter we get a lot of rain in the UK, and this will cause the soil to stay really damp for long periods of time. And this can cause root rot on your trees. So this kind of winter work is really important. It might not be very glamorous, but it really helps ensure that your trees stay healthy over the period. Some people like to cover the surface of their soil with like a shade cloth or something like that to keep the soil from getting too wet. But I found that if you remove all the moss and kind of leave it in a sheltered place, it's fine. Another reason I like to remove the leaves is because it gives insects the opportunity to overwinter in your soil. It gives them some food, so we want to make sure that we remove any of that so that all of the trees remain healthy and insect free. That's also another reason why I don't like to use shade cloths or anything like that. It gives opportunities for mice or insects to live underneath the blanket where it's nice and warm over the winter. Particularly with mice, they might start to kind of eat the bark of the tree, and this can obviously really ruin any bark or any trunk that you've spent a lot of time developing. So it doesn't take too long, but it's a really important step to bonsai care. You can see here how small you can get the oak leaves. So once you start building up that really dense forest, this is the kind of leaf size that I'll be aiming for. So this is quite a slow process, so I'm going to work away offline, and we'll come back once I've finished and begin pruning. So now that the planting is all cleaned up and the leaves have been taken off the tree, it's time to come in and prune the tree up. So what we want to do here is we want to treat each tree individually so it has its own light and doesn't kind of encroach on others. You can see that this tree here and this tree here are kind of competing, got lots of overlap. So we want to kind of prune the trees individually and then prune it as a whole forest planting as well. I want to create a kind of atypical or equilateral triangle where the kind of peak is here and then it slopes off down here. And you're going to see that how it unfolds. So I'm going to zoom you in and we're going to look at pruning up the primary tree first. So we're looking at the first tree, we come up and we can see we've got our first branch here. It divides and then we've got one branch that way, which is fine, and one coming towards the viewer. We've got an opportunity to reduce that back. Coming up to this branch here, we can see we've got one branch going down, which we don't want. We've got a stub here from last year, if I can get to it, which I can prune back to. And that's probably fine, that branch. Coming round to the back, we've got a downward facing branch here we can remove. And then this branch here is getting quite long. We've got a nice bud there, so let's prune that back. Coming up the tree, we've got a branch we don't need, we can remove. And then this branch here, we've got a stub we can prune back. We've got a branch that kind of heads back out across the tree that we don't want, we can remove that one as well. And then coming up, we can just tip the terminal bud. Coming up the tree, we've got another branch here, which is quite nice, but it's kind of quite close to this one here. I'll zoom you in so you can take a look. You can see at the top here, we've got a whole whirl of branches starting to form. So we want to open up space a little bit. I'm going to remove this branch and remove this branch. So now we've got more of a simplified structure and the branch is kind of laddering up. Let's remove this stub. And then coming out onto this branch here, it divides quite close to the trunk, so we want to actually be picking one branch to simplify that structure there. Just looking which is the most radial. I think we can remove this one and just tip the bud off there. Should we take it back a little bit further? It's in the apex, so we should see that respond quite nicely. You can see all the way up the branch here we've got loads and loads of buds, so it's going to be quite vigorous this year. Coming over to the branch at the back, this is getting quite thick with it being in the apex, and it's actually now beginning to compete with the main leader. So all I'm going to do is prune this back hard. I can see there's some buds here and here, and that should keep it in check. Continuing up the tree, you can see again we've got a whole whirl of buds, so I want to do the same thing again. And just prune off the top. Just going to tidy that up. So we now should see in the new year all of these buds kind of explode and that will become a nice fine top of our tree. Final step, just going to come in with this branch sealant and just close off all of those gaps on the branches that we just created, and this will stop it from drying out over winter. It'll keep the buds nice and healthy, and we shouldn't see too much dieback. So that's the first tree now all pruned up. We can begin working on this secondary tree, which is much easier. There's a lot less branches to choose from. So I'm just doing some initial branch selection, getting it all nice and ready. So you can see with this tree here, we've got a branch down here, which is quite nice, another branch here, and then we've got a whole whirl of branches. So we need to begin simplifying this quite quickly. I particularly like this branch here as the leader. So that instantly allows me to remove that branch. And then looking at the structure, these are kind of bar branches. We've got a branch here and a branch out here. The branch here is kind of almost on top of the branch below. And because we've got such a whirl here, we want to keep this branch. So I'm actually inclined to possibly keep this branch for now. So we can remove, even though it's got some nice ramification, we can remove this branch. Coming around to the side, you can see we've got another small branch here, but that's pretty much on top of the branch below, so I'm going to remove that one. And then finally, in the crown, can just prune that back there. So again, I'm going to come in and just seal all this up. Keep it nice and healthy. And that's that tree all pruned up. Look at the tree now at the back here. We're in a similar situation where we have a whole whirl of branches coming from one spot, and no real clear leader. We've got a bud that's coming up here that's really advantageous, that will definitely become our new leader in the future. And all of this downward growth we can remove. This branch is too thick, so we can remove that one. We got lots of buds forming further down. So we've now got kind of 3 branches coming from one spot here. This one isn't facing in the right direction. And now that's all pruned up, ready for next year. Behind it, we've got another tree here. We've got kind of 3 branches coming from one spot, so we need to reduce them. Let's get rid of this branch. If we look at the flow, we've got quite a nice bit of movement in the trunk, and it comes up and then out. This one is a bit awkward, so I'm going to remove that. And we're just going to cut that one back. Coming up the tree, we've got kind of a ladder branch here, which we don't want. So I can remove that. And nothing else really on the trunk, apart from this tall branch up here, which we're just going to prune back. And we've now got an opportunity to take this back like so. And again, like with the other trees, we could just come in and apply some cut paste to these big wounds to help them and stop them from drying out. Coming to the back of the planting now, we've got this tree here. We can see we've got lots of buds forming down low, which we're not going to want. I'm just going to prune those off. And then we've got our first kind of branch which sticks out to the side here, which is fine. This one is a little bit too close, so we can remove that. And there's another bud coming out in an ideal direction. I'm probably not going to prune that back. There's not actually many buds along the branch here, and it's quite weak, so I'll leave that. And coming up the tree, we've got now the opportunity to create a main leader and a side branch. Given these are kind of almost on top of each other. I'm going to make this the leader and this the side branch. And that's that side tree now, all pruned up. So we've got 2 trees left now in the planting, one slightly to the front and the one slightly to the back. So let's have a go at the back one first. I'm just clearing off some old root stubs lower down. When I repotted the tree, I lifted all the trees up and created a nice kind of nabari root base. And so we've got some old root stubs that I can remove. There's also a ton of buds that we're not going to want branches that low down. So I'm just removing those. So our first branch, it forks out. We've got a chance to pick one that's more radial. So I'm going to simplify that from 2 down to 1. And this will stop the branch from creating inverse taper and swelling. We come up the tree and we've got the same situation here and an opportunity to reduce that branch back. I'm just going to remove some stubs. The last tree we're going to look at now is this one here. I'm going to zoom you in so you can take a look at that. So this tree here is really vigorous. We've got lots of choices and decisions to make. The first one is, where do we want the leader? And I think this branch here is a really good candidate for that. So what I'm going to do is actually take off a large portion of the top of the tree. For that leader there. Try and get a better cut. There we go, and that will flow much better. So we've got some branch choices. This one is unfortunately too low. And then we've got a whole whirl of branches all around here, and I think at this height we only really want one, which is probably one coming out to this side here, so that both these trees have their own light. So I'm going to remove that, and as we've got 2, we've got to reduce it down to 1. And then the final thing is to just prune the tip off here. And with the leader, we want to do the same thing. So I can see there's a nice bud there. Prune it back. So what I've done here is I've pruned for this bud, you can see here, which will extend the leader up. There's loads around the base, which we should see a similar thing begin to happen there too. So that's all the trees now pruned up, ready to go back out on the bench. The last thing I want to do is spray it down with some rose clear, and this will kill kind of any crawling insects that are on the trunks and the branches that I might have missed, before putting it back out with my other trees. So this is the rose clear that I use. It's really good stuff. You can buy like small booster concentrated liquids, and then you just pour it in here and fill it up with water. So now that that's all prepped, let's zoom you in and take a 360 view look at the forest. So here's the front of the forest, coming round to the side, to the back of the forest, back round to the side, and to the front. Here's all the soil and debris that I removed, as well as all the branching. You can see there's no real major major branches, but lots of twigs and fine ramification was removed. So if you've made it this far to the end of the video, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the content as much as I've enjoyed making it, and if you want to see more of things like this, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.